Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And this is our final video for our coverage of Gen Con 2023. So we've made it to the end here. This video is going to be our wrap-up, where we're going to discuss our takeaways from the convention, all the things we did. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's start with Wednesday. So we get there on Wednesday, and first thing was we went out to lunch with some friends of ours, a bunch of friends of ours, had some nice drinks, ate some good food. That was lovely. Over at, what is that restaurant? Help me out.
Nada.
Now, we've been there the last few times. I would recommend Nada. Would you still recommend Nada?
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. It's a good Mexican-style restaurant. We're talking tacos. We're talking...
Yeah, they're a little overpriced, but I mean, you know.
But they're good.
Yeah.
And we know they're good.
It's not like overpriced, crappy food. It's good. It's just, you know.
I think it's worth it, personally. Now, it's just one of those things. We've found it to be a good place year after year, and we just keep going back.
Yeah, well, they always have a lot of space, and since we're there with like 8 people.
Yeah, we reserved a big table so we could get like a good-sized table on Wednesday. But then we went to the beer tapping. Mm-hmm. Where we got to try the new official beer. What did you think? So the new one, it's called, what was it called?
It was like honey. It has something.
Hive Mind.
Hive Mind. It was like a honey ale.
What did you think? What did you think of? And that's from, of course, Sun King Brewery. What did you think of Hive Mind?
I thought it was. I liked it.
I liked it too. I thought it was.
I don't know if I would go out of my way to like. You know, drink it again.
I did. I had it 3 other times during the convention. Okay. So I found it to be a great warm weather beer. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it available at all because it was specifically from the microbrewery Sun King Brewery and it was their official beer of Gen Con, so you may not be able to even find it. But it may show up again. Sometimes they bring back previous official beers for future Gen Cons. It does happen. It was crisp. It was light. It had that light level of sweetness from having brewed the honey. And I found it to be a really good warm weather beer, and it was hot. Mm-hmm. So there were multiple of the days were like in the upper 80s or even lower 90s. Mm-hmm. So I found it to be a good beer to have when it had been quite hot out. So yeah, I really liked it. After that, we did, for the first time ever, because I don't think they had ever done it before, we went to the Hachette Gen Con party. Mm-hmm. I don't ever recall seeing an invite, and I've been doing the press that at Gen Con now, like 5 years?
Yeah.
I want to say. I've never seen an invite for Hachette doing a press party before, so that was really cool of them to do it. And I thought it was cool. What were your thoughts on the Hachette press party?
It was fun. It was a bit cramped.
They did have a fairly small room.
They had a small room, and there were a lot of people there because it was sort of like, it reminded me of like what AEG Big Game Night used to be, where there was just like a bunch of games out on tables and you could just go over to the game, sit down, and someone was there
to teach you
how to play.
And we played a bunch of games. Mm-hmm. We had review copies already reserved from Hachette. Specifically, we got Tribes of the Wind and Vivarium. So we decided to try some different games, and then kind of wished I had gotten review copies of those other games because they were really good. What were the ones we played? We played.
We played. Oh, it was.
It was one with the Nautilus. It was like Nautilus Island.
Yeah, it drew my eye because I'm a big fan of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It was something with the Nautilus where you're stranded on the island and you're trying to get off.
I think it's Nautilus Island.
Okay.
We played a full game of that.
Yeah.
That one was pretty light. Like I wouldn't have gone out of my way to get a review copy of that because of how light it was, and I generally later games don't do as well on my channel.
It was. I think that's like a good family weight game.
Yes.
Like if you have like kids like 6 and above.
So you can consider this a positive recommendation to you if that's your situation. You have a couple kids, you want to play a nice family weight game. Mm-hmm. It was a fun kind of like drafting set collecting game sort of thing. Really cool though. And then the other one was even better.
Yeah, it was like In the Footsteps of Darwin or something?
Yes. That was the one I wished I had gotten a review copy of because it was really
another,
good.
like, you were collecting animals, basically. And then...
It had drafting.
Yeah. Well, it had, like, you picked something from the row, and then the Beagle, the ship,
Yeah.
Darwin's ship, had to move a certain number of spaces depending on what you picked, and then the next person could only pick from that row.
It reminded me of a increased in complexity, slightly different, but reminded me similarly of Cat Lady.
Yeah, the picking was like that because except it was the opposite because in Cat Lady you can't pick where the cat is.
And this you have to pick
Yeah.
where the ship is. So yeah, but no, but it was really good. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable. And I also played. I can't remember the name of it. I'll probably throw it up on screen. I'll find it. But it was a abstract strategy game that was really cool. That had you trying to get four in a row while also doing like the mechanic from Mancala, which is rare that mechanic actually gets used in modern games. We are fans of Mancala, so I told Lynn, I was like, "Oh, you got to try this," and you came over and you liked it too, right?
Yeah.
So
It had a weird name.
yeah, I'll like I said, I'll probably put it up on the screen because I can't recall the name offhand right now. All right, so moving on, let's see, Thursday. Thursday. What do we do? Because that was it basically for Wednesday
Yeah.
night, right?
We just walked around a bunch on Thursday.
So yeah, so Thursday we went. Thursday I usually try to keep appointment free, and I succeeded this year, completely appointment free, because Thursday we spend all our time just exploring the exhibit hall for the most part, making sure we get to see every booth at least a little bit, and we did. It took a long time, but we walked all over. I got a lot of footage on Thursday. A lot of my footage for my Gen Con 2023, the experiences from Thursday. Probably got the most footage of any day. Saw a lot of cool stuff. I think that's when we first, like as an example, got to see the Last Kingdom board game. Like, because we saw just a lot of cool stuff. What were your big takeaways from the exhibit hall on Thursday? And I know what the first one's going to be.
Very crowded.
It was. So we, yeah.
Did not like.
Well, okay. So Thursday, first thing on Thursday, we went in and like you could barely move. A little later, it calmed down because I think it was a lot of people running in to try to get the new Hotness games, and it was so crowded. And we were all saying this is like busier than we've ever seen it. Later on Thursday, it calmed down and it got better. But we'll get to the press release in a minute. But from the press release, we have seen that, in fact, it was more crowded than it has ever been at Gen Con. Yeah, they're going to need to find out some ways to get some more room because, again, it is getting too tight in there. It was a couple. Now, overall, I would say my experience walking around the exhibit hall was mostly good, but early on, it was way too tight to the point where, like, there were some bits where we just had to be like, okay, let's get out of here for a while. Yeah, but then Thursday night, you didn't do it. You went back to the hotel, but Aaron, Matt, and I went and did an escape room. First time doing an escape room at Gen Con. We booked an escape room that had to do with a lot of 80s stuff and classic video games, and it was off in one of the hotels. It was in the, what is that one called? The something station hotel.
The Crown, I thought it was the
Crown Plaza? Oh, yeah, but it looks like a train station. Maybe that's why
Yeah.
I'm always thinking it's called something station. But yeah, we went and did that, and that was really fun. I would definitely do that again. I had a blast, and we won. We won the escape room. We did escape. So that was really freaking cool. Okay. Friday, because that's basically it for Thursday. I don't think we really had done anything else Thursday, except I did want to say we did, which was cool, was one was we had to come back and talk to someone at Gamelin Games because we had looked at Last Kingdom and we needed to talk to someone who could authorize a review copy. And then also we had to go back because we had talked to the people at Trick or Treat Studios about Shadowgate, and they were going to have a review copy set aside for us the next day. They had to get it from a different stockpile that was not there at the con. So first thing we did was we came in and we did those two things. We got our 2 review copies that were reserved for us from there. We'd also gotten a review copy on Thursday from Grand Gamers Guild for HOW Rulers of Yucatan. Also was just reserved for us, and we knew we were getting even before the con. But then Friday, we came back, we got those other 2 review copies, and we also had a appointment over at WizKids. So I filmed a little bit with WizKids. I filmed on some of their new and upcoming games. Those videos are all up. They were very lovely. That all went well. We did some walking around the exhibit hall. Went and got lunch. Was it?
Yeah, I think was that the what else was on there?
That was everything else was in the
Otherwise,
afternoon.
okay, yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
else was in the
Yeah.
afternoon on that one. So we went and got some lunch, some quick lunch, I thought, if I remember correctly, and then basically I went to a 2 p.m. appointment with a gentleman from a game company whose name escapes me at the moment. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It was a gentleman named Ilya. He was really nice. Shot a bunch of videos with him. I'm sure they're all up on the channel at this point. But that was over actually at one of the hotels. Then we went and we had an appointment at the Brotherwise booth. That's where we got to check out a lot of those and did a lot of those videos. We also wound up getting one review copy from them then, and then they told us to come back at the end of the con for another review copy. Then we went and took a break for a while because we were getting a little tired. Did some more walking around the exhibit hall, got something to eat, and then we had an appointment after the exhibit hall closed at 7 p.m. We had an appointment with Rock Manor Games over at Lucas Oil Stadium. Why don't you talk about that? It was a little weird.
That was an adventure trying to figure out where the room was because so it's in Lucas Oil Stadium, but it was in like one of the suites overlooking the pitch.
The field.
The field pitch was rugby, isn't
Yeah. I'm sure they use it for rugby too, though.
But the thing is like the room number was like LS something, and we all
LS17C.
we all thought the LS was like Lucas Stadium because that makes sense. Turns out it's lower suite.
Right.
But it gets worse because the lower suites are upstairs.
It was confusing.
So you have to take a special elevator with an elevator attendant.
Yes.
Up the stairs to the lower, up the elevator to the lower suites.
And
we were all very confused.
Well, apparently Rock Manor Games realized this, and that morning sent out an email with specific instructions, which weren't bad and got us to the right place.
Yeah.
But it was still a little confusing. We'd never been over there before. I don't think they've ever done events up there before. And I mean, this was a press event. This wasn't like a public event. So this was our first time ever being up there. There were not that many people up there because it was just press people really going up there. But overall, I would say the actual event was cool. They told us a lot about their new games. They gave us like a discount coupon for a game, which was really cool. Later, because of instructions they gave me, I was able to go get a review copy of one of their games that I've been looking forward to, which was whatchamacallit? Help me out. That's the pirate game.
Seas of Havoc?
Seas of Havoc, yes. Which Seas of Havoc I had seen a full demo on back in December at PAX Unplugged, and that was before it was released, and I was looking forward to reviewing it. So I was able to get a review copy thanks to having gone to this press event, so that was really cool. So let's see. Moving on, I think that was basically it for Friday. So Saturday we had a 10 a.m. appointment to film with the Snapships Tactics people, which they didn't have review copies at the con, but they said their press person told me they might be sending me one after the con. So if I do a review of it, that's why it wasn't in the whole video. But yeah, I may be getting a copy of it. Quick version. It plays a lot like things like, say, Star Wars X-Wing or Battlestar Galactica Starship Battles or things like that, dogfighting games, except that you are fully able to customize your ship with different parts, and you actually build the ship model out of different parts, and the different parts allow you to use different cards for different weapons or effects. Really cool. Really exciting. I also got to film another video with them on another game that I was unaware of, which was also pretty cool. Another spaceship. This one was like a racing game. That was kind of cool. Jump in anytime if you had anything you remember that I'm forgetting, by the way.
Well, I think this was after the Snapships thing. This was when I kind of was like, I'm going to go sit down.
We were hitting a wall.
And not get up for 3 hours.
So we started on Saturday. We were doing a lot more walking around again. We hadn't been sleeping very well at the convention. And we were starting to hit a wall on Saturday. So then I went and I had an appointment at the Op, which they were lovely people. I filmed a bunch of stuff with them. I'm sure you've already seen some of it, or if you haven't, feel free to go check it out. But then they also gave me review copies to that Disney game. What was it called? I think I have it over here, actually. It's called...
Arcane something?
It's called
Sorcerer's Arena.
Yeah, Sorcerer's Arena Epic Alliances, which is like an arena combat King of the Hill style game with Disney characters. You each get to pick 3 Disney characters to use in the game. Very cool. And then I had my appointment with Dead Alive, where we looked at a about to be released game and an upcoming game of theirs. The about to be released game is the one. It's Lunar Rush. It's kind of an economic Euro-y game with really cool artwork about I think mining stuff on the moon. Mm-hmm. There's like resource management and bidding and pick up and deliver and a lot of really cool Euro mechanics. This one looked right up my alley. They wound up giving me a review copy later in the convention, so I do have that. That will be coming. They also showed me, we did a video on an upcoming stuff. Very lovely people, nice videos. Feel free to check them out. And then I think the last thing we had on Saturday was the CGE room, where we shot some stuff with CGE as well, and they are always nice to us. And then we were pretty exhausted, and correct me if I'm wrong, we went to dinner at that point after CGE. Yeah. They were lovely, got some great footage of an upcoming game that I highly recommend you check out, the CGE games.
I think that was because they were upstairs. That was when we got the Indian food in the hallway.
Curry. Yeah, we went and got some curry, which is really cool because they were that was new, right? They had like a food booth on the second floor. Doing curries and samosas and naan, and I got like a lamb curry and you got like a vegetarian curry. Really nice stuff. So if I'm not mistaken, that basically rounds out Saturday. Mm-hmm. So Sunday we were hitting a wall, and I had no appointments on Sunday, which was good. So we slept in, and then you woke my ass up because you were like hey Josh. I was unconscious. I'm like, I'm out because I was so exhausted. And what was it you found? I don't remember now.
So it was an email that was sent.
Oh, it was about the review copy.
Yeah.
You're like, hey Josh, is Lunar Rush that game you liked? And I was like, yes. Why? And you said.
Where did I say?
You said they just sent an email.
Oh, they sent an email at like 1:42 in the morning. Like, would you like a review copy?
Yeah, you woke. I'm like, I'm unconscious. I'm like, all right, well, I'll respond when I wake up.
This was like at 7 a.m. though when I got up.
Yeah, but I needed to sleep in that day because I finally was getting sleep, and we had been exhausted. We were really hitting a wall by Sunday morning, so we didn't go back to the exhibit hall until halfway through the day on Sunday. Like, we went and got some lunch, and then went into the exhibit hall and did our last few things we needed to do. But overall, I would say that Sunday was a much lighter day for us. We had very little going on. Mostly it was just some stuff like that. We wanted to go back and check with someone, or they had a contact us back and be like, hey, come by and we'll give you a review copy. Or there were people who had said, hey, come by sometime on Sunday and we'll see if we have a review copy for you. And then there was even one where I decided not to because I got plenty of review copies. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to cut it there. I'm not going to ask anyone else for review copies because you don't want to be overburdened. Mm-hmm. And there was one more where they said, hey, come back on Sunday and we'll see. And I was like, you know what? I said, we're just not going to go. We've already gotten plenty. So we wound up doing that. All right. So before I get to the press release, anything now, your impressions of Gen Con this year in general? You already said super crowded, lots of people. Mm-hmm. What else though? I mean, I thought it was really good. Like, I had a lot of fun this year.
Even though it was weird, I think I like where the food area was this year.
Oh, one you talk about the food area moved. Explain.
Well, there's more room.
Well, explain about how it moved.
Okay,
first.
So it moved to South Street. There's like a parking lot, and they used South Street in front of the stadium.
And if you're not remembering where South Street is and you didn't go this year, basically this is the street that's between the convention center and the stadium. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, go
on. So they had the entire parking lot, and then they also had each side of South Street with food trucks.
Yes.
And because they had a parking lot, it was wider than Georgia Street. So they were able to fit in like a bunch of picnic benches.
Which was good. You could actually sit and eat.
And then there's also the option like, oh, there's the picnic benches are full, or oh, it's 96 degrees and I don't want to eat in this, I can just go across the street and sit in an air-conditioned stadium and eat my food.
And we did that once. We did do that once.
Yeah.
I think on Sunday we ate in the stadium.
Yeah.
But overall, I would say it was good. There were a couple of issues. One, it's a little further. It feels a little further away from the exhibit hall.
It's not just exit the stadium, go across the street, you're there. Like you have to. It's an extra couple minutes walk.
On the positives though, like you said, lots of seating.
Yeah, there's a lot of benches. We've never gotten to sit down unless it was on the ground.
Yeah.
When the stuff was on Georgia Street, there was 5 tables with 2 chairs on Georgia Street.
I feel like all the seating trumps all the negatives. The seating was great. There also felt like there was a lot more food places there than normal. They felt like there was more because you also had a bunch of places that just set up tents within the parking lot areas, and I think there were more than there usually are.
Yeah, because there's usually just island noodles and hot box pizza and Wild Bill's the last couple of years.
But we also had a hamburger / steak place.
Yeah, now there's a bunch of the local restaurants set up little tents with a couple options.
Yeah, so there was a lot over there.
There were some downsides. It was a bit farther of a walk, and depending on the way the wind blew, there was a weird sewer smell.
Yeah, there were some sewer grates over there, and I think they might have just been storm drains, but there was something down there rotting because when the wind would blow the wrong direction, you'd get that smell, and you'd be like, okay, we need to move further away. But luckily, that was not near the benches.
Yeah, I have seen some people complain online about the train. Because I
thought that was a silly complaint.
Well, apparently the ones that we saw were going they were freight trains and they were going really slow. Yeah. But I don't know if that's also a commuter rail or something, because someone was saying that they were too loud and if they were trying to order food and a train went by and they had to just wait till the train was over.
It seemed to me, of all the things to complain about, that was a silly thing to complain about personally to me, but I didn't experience anything where a train was super loud. I had a couple trains go by and I was like, it's whatever.
We saw a freight train going half a mile an hour.
No, I think it was doing at least 5.
It was going very slow though. Yeah. It was not making much noise.
No. All right. Anything else we wanted to discuss before we get into the press release? Because we haven't read this. This is going to be our first time reading it fully through. We're going to discuss it as we read it.
That was really the only thing, because that was the only new thing, because they're doing the construction, so they can use Georgia Street.
So that's fair. Because the construction is going on for 2 new hotels, right? 2.
Yeah, I believe it's 2.
Which is going to be great, because that is going to increase. And that's actually something I wanted to talk about. I just remembered. That is going to increase not only the number of rooms that are going to be available downtown. I don't know how long it's going to take for these hotels to be done. Maybe a while. So they may not be ready for next year. We'll see. But once they're done, not only is it going to increase the amount of people who can stay downtown when you have constantly, increasing in size Gen Con, but also there's going to be more ballrooms and conference rooms and all of those for more events, which more events there means they may be able to increase the size of the exhibit hall by taking over the next hall and possibly then widen the aisles and get more of the people on the wait list actually in there renting booths, which I think would be a very big plus. I think there needs to be wider aisles and also a larger exhibit hall would also mean you'd have less traffic jams because the same number of people would be spread out over a larger area.
Yeah.
So I think that would be really good, even if they didn't widen aisles. But I also think they should widen the aisles a little bit. My personal opinion, just because you get so many people in there. All right. Are you ready for the press release, the post Gen Con press release? Yeah. All right. So the title of the post Gen Con, I can't speak. Post Gen Con press release. It feels like a tongue twister, even though it's not. Post Gen Con press release is: Gen Con breaks attendance records in 2023 as it marks 20th year in Indianapolis. So right there, as soon as we saw that, we're like, okay, we weren't imagining things. This was a very crowded Gen Con. The annual tabletop convention extends its stay in Indianapolis through 2030. Indianapolis, August 7th, 2023. The gamers are back post-pandemic as Gen Con, the largest and longest-running tabletop convention in North America, hosted over 70,000 unique attendees at Gen Con 2023. So this is crazy, because usually, even in recent years from before the pandemic and recent years since we've recovered from the pandemic, it's usually been between 60 and 70,000. Breaking 70,000 is huge. That's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people for one convention in Indianapolis, which is a smaller city. Thoughts on that?
Not really. No thoughts.
The event held August 3rd through 6th at the Indiana Convention Center and Lucas Oil Stadium features the best 4 days in gaming, providing fans with a complete gaming experience. Beyond breaking attendance records, Gen Con generated nearly $75 million in economic impact for restaurants, hotels, and other local businesses in Indianapolis in 2023. That paragraph right there lets you know exactly why Indy is so motivated to keep Gen Con there and bending over backwards, okaying the building of more hotels, increasing the size of the convention center twice. Agreed?
Yeah.
Marking the 20th anniversary in Indianapolis, Gen Con is announcing it has officially extended its contract with the city through 2030. The Gen Con attendee experience is continually at the forefront of our decision making, said David Hopp, president of Gen Con. We are excited to announce that Gen Con will be extending its stay in Indianapolis through 2030. I am eager to see the continued growth and success that will come from our partnership with a city that has supported us for the last 20 years. I'm a little mixed on this one. I was on one hand, I was actually kind of hoping they would move out of Indy. So here's my thoughts. Indianapolis has been great to Gen Con and the Gen Con attendees. They bend over backwards to do things nice for us, but Indiana is not a very welcoming state to all people. They have gone out of their way to pass laws on a statewide level where they have passed laws that are not necessarily welcoming to people with people with a uterus or people of a alternative, like maybe LGBTQ, etc. So while I love Indianapolis, and I don't feel like I want to, so that's why I'm feel mixed.
Yeah, Indianapolis is welcoming, but Indiana.
Indiana. So that's the thing.
Not.
It's like on one hand, I don't want to penalize Indianapolis because they've always been very welcoming to us, but on the other hand, Indiana is state government is kind of
a dumpster fire.
Kind of dumpster fire. I don't like to get into politics, but let's just. I mean, we're gonna leave it at that. I don't like to get into politics on this channel because this channel is about gaming, but yeah, so I have mixed feelings about that. But that said, Indianapolis has always been really nice to us.
Yeah.
So it's like I like that it's staying in Indianapolis, but I don't like that it's staying in Indiana, and the two things conflict. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. 20 years ago, when Gen Con first came to Indy, they were a 20,000 person hobby gaming show, said Leonard Hops, president and CEO of Visit Indy. Today, it is a 70,000 person cultural phenomenon. Indy and Gen Con have grown together, and we're thrilled to have the opportunity to do so in the future. Keeping this global event in Indy has been a team effort, and the Pan Am Convention Center and Hotel project has been an indispensable part of that. We greatly value our decades-long partnership with Gen Con. So that Pan Am thing, that's the new hotels.
Yeah, the Pan Am Plaza, they're going to be building 2 new hotels there.
Which the only thing they were really using that for was outdoor concerts before.
Yeah.
So now they're going to, I mean, it's good that they're going to have a lot more, and they'll be able to host other fairly large conventions there now also because of the increased size. So we'll see if they can attract any to Indianapolis. That's going to be, up to them if they can do that. The scale of Gen Con is unmatched. This year, the exhibit hall featured more than 570 game publishers and vendors, and attendees took part in over 20,000 ticketed events. These are some big numbers, ranging from board games, card games, role-playing games, comedy shows, and musical performances, seminars, the annual costume contest, film festival, and more. Concurrently with the in-person convention, over 700 virtual games and events were held throughout the convention's Gen Con online program. Every year, Gen Con partners with charities to raise funds and spotlight remarkable nonprofit organizations. This year, attendees helped raise nearly $35,000 for Indie Reads and Game Pathways. Gen Con has raised over $425,000 for charity since 2003. Gen Con will return to Indianapolis August 1st through 4th, 2024. For more information, visit gencon.com. All right. What is your takeaway from the entirety of the press release here? I'm
I'm not surprised that they're staying in Indianapolis because it's just easier. You know, it's the path of least resistance. They're
Yeah.
already established. They already know what they can do there.
Everybody knows they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else though from your takeaway on this, just on it getting larger and larger again?
I hate it.
Well, I was gonna say they need to. Yeah, Lynn doesn't like it when it gets super crowded. Would you agree with
Yeah.
that? Your favorite Gen Con was the one where it was really light.
Yes.
So, I do think now that they're expanding more and they're getting more events outside of the convention center, and they're going to have 2 new hotels coming, which is going to allow them to get even more events outside the convention center. I think they need to expand the size of the exhibit hall again. They've already done it multiple times, but I think they need to do it again because I think they need to be able to spread out the number of people in the exhibit hall over a larger area. I think that would really help to alleviate some of the traffic jams because this year there were some of the worst gridlocks, traffic jams, bottlenecks I had ever seen. And then there were, of course, a number of people that were making it worse, which I always, this is my little bit of, statement to those people. Stop making the traffic jam worse than it already is because it's already bad enough, but you had people leaning on them. There's always garbages at the intersections. You have people leaning on the garbages blocking half the aisle.
Having whole conversations.
It's like, don't do that. Don't get out of the way. Go by a wall. There's space by the wall. Go by a wall. You had, and I mean, I've talked before about how dangerous I think it is for people to bring kids and strollers in. I had a lady, no joke, ankle chopped me twice. Same lady, because she wasn't looking where she was going with the stroller. And she was just like walking, looking at something to the left, and she slammed the stroller into me. If she had hit me harder, I could have fallen down. And hypothetically, I'm always worried about this. Someone is going to fall on a stroller and hurt the kids. Like, I don't know if it's ever happened, but if it hasn't, it's going to happen. Like, it's so dangerous. But also, like, the wagons. There were so many people with wagons.
It's like the wagons are the new, like, I'm too cool for a stroller.
But
so I'm gonna just plop my kid in a wagon.
And they'll have like a kid and a bunch of board games in the wagon. And I get why they're doing it, but they're when you're already so jam packed in the exhibit hall, the wagons are making things worse. And there was one, no joke, the biggest wagon I saw, no joke, had 4 kids sitting in a wagon 2 by 2. They were side by side in one wagon. That's how big it was. And when I saw that, I was like, you got to be kidding me. There's no place for this in the exhibit hall. So that's one of my big criticisms of the way they do Gen Con. I feel like they need to ban the wagons from the exhibit hall. The wagons are dangerous. The wagons are causing more traffic jams than there need to be. And generally speaking, I get that kids get tired, and if they're old enough to come to the convention but get tired, you may need to go take a break with them, go sit down and have something to eat. But also, if your kid is too big for being strapped to you in a papoose and too small not to be able to stay on their feet and walk around all the time, also maybe you might want to think about getting a babysitter. Is that crazy?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, a rant over on that regard. That was some of my negatives, but overall, I thought I had a great time this convention. I thought overall it was really good. This did feel like one of the biggest Gen Cons ever. We had a lot of great appointments. We talked to a lot of cool people. We got to check out a lot of cool games. Overall, would you be more positive or negative on this one? Because
positive or negative than what?
On the convention in general. I was more positive than negative.
Oh.
I was much more positive than negative overall. I had a few gripes, but overall, I actually, like I said, I think overall, the moving of the food, I'm with you. I think overall it was a positive thing, the food being over there. But yeah. I wonder if it will come back once the construction is done.
Well, it's just there's more breathing room.
Yeah. And that is good. I also like them adding, a couple of more spots to get food, like the curry upstairs. I'd never seen that before. Yeah. That was cool that was there.
And there was we didn't get anything on it, but on the way to the ramp to go to the stadium, there was like a breakfast little kiosk.
There was. There seemed to be more food options this year. There seemed to be overall a lot of great stuff, a lot of good stuff going on. Everybody was having a lot of fun, a lot of demoing, a lot of game events.
Well, and also another thing with the food is yes, it's a couple minutes longer of a walk, but you don't have to cross a street with the traffic. It's true.
Overall, I would say the move was good, but I am worried, of course, it's going to go right back.
Well,
as soon as the construction is done.
I mean, they have to close down Georgia Street anyway when the food is there, so why couldn't they just, instead of closing down Georgia Street, close down South Street?
That's fair. All right, so okay,
I've never really looked at a map of Indianapolis. I don't know if there's a reason why South Street would be integral to like traffic flow or something.
So okay, so overall, positive or negative? More positive than negative?
I guess slightly more positive.
More positive. Okay, so still, even with all the increased crowds, which I know is a big negative for you, still overall quite good, quite a good convention.
Yeah.
Overall, had a good time. All right, so let us know in the comments down below. Did you guys have a good time at Gen Con? Did you go? If you didn't go, what did you think of our coverage? If you did go, what did you think of our coverage? Let us know in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed all of our Gen Con coverage. We worked really hard on it this year and shot a lot of videos. Be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.